Okay, so this is my video solution for day one for the advent of code 2020. These things start really easy and then they get kind of hard, so I'm kind of worried around like day 15 whether I can make a 5-10 minute video to describe this, but we'll worry about that when we get there. So for this one, I've written down the problem. So we need to find the two entries in a list that sum to 2020, which is, of course, this year, and multiply them together. So this is the sample array they give. So one strategy for this might be to loop through every entry in the array, and then loop through all the other entries in the array as well. So you have like a nested loop, and then you can just do if r of I plus r of j is equal to 2020. Then we know, oh, these two numbers certainly sum to 2020. Let's just take the product of them. And this certainly works, but it's also pretty slow. So the better approach would be to store all of the entries into a dictionary, which allows you to look up very quickly whether you have a certain entry in your list. So you can just loop through all of the entries in your array, store them in your dictionary, and then you're gonna reloop through your array, and then we know if we have num, then the other number that we need to sum to 2020 is target like 2020 minus the num. So we're going to look if target minus num in M1, then we can just take the return target minus num times num, and we're good. So that's part one. So for part two, we want to find the product of the three entries that sum to 2020. It's similar, but instead of storing all of the entries in the dictionary, you can store all of the possible sums of two numbers into the dictionary. So to do that, you can loop through all the numbers in the array, num1 let's call it, then all the other numbers in the array, and then you can do like m2 of num1 plus num2, and then here if we store the product, this will be useful. I will show why in just a second. So then we can loop through all the numbers in the array, and so we have the other two numbers, those are going to come from M2, but we need, and this will be our third number, will be num, so together num plus the two numbers in M2, those will be our three numbers, so we can do if target minus num, if there are two numbers that sum to target minus num in M2, then we can return not target minus num this time, but rather M2 of target minus num, which will be the product of the two numbers, and then we can multiply that by our num. That's it. So that's it for day one, so thanks for watching.